everybody, welcome to my channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. I hope you're doing well. I hope 2024 is treating you nicely so far. I always have high hopes every new year, and sometimes things work out well and sometimes they don't, but that's just life. You have to take things as they come. But anyway, I thought I would jump on here and say hi because I haven't been on here for a while. I've been publishing videos, but not face-to-face like this, and it's always nice for me to make that connection with you. So let me see what's been happening. Not much, except that I'm still waiting for the contractors to fix the damage that my dishwasher caused. I didn't show you any pictures, but actually the water dripped down to my studio. So I have some damage on the ceiling in my studio. So they're going to have to replace that. So that's going to disrupt things for me, unfortunately. But I'll get through it somehow. I'd rather they fix it now than later. But other than that, things are pretty normal around here. Boo Boo's doing okay. He's eating okay, and he's hanging in there. We're still giving him IV fluids, and I'm giving him something called phosphate binder. So I think those two things are really helping him a lot. And I want to thank everybody who left well wishes and comments about Boo Boo. I really appreciate it. And let's see, what else is new? Well, it snowed this week, unfortunately, and I know some of you love snow, but I certainly don't. It's mainly because I feel trapped, like I can't go on my walks or go for drives or do anything. I'm really scared of slipping and falling. I guess if you're home, it's nice to look at it. And today was a beautiful day. We had blue skies, and the contrast between the blue skies, the white snow, and the red berries on some bushes that I have up front was absolutely gorgeous. But anyway, guys, I know you're here to make those beautiful necklaces that you saw in the intro, and I can't wait to show you how to make them. They're definitely bohemian style or hippie style. And do you remember those days? I certainly do. I have some fond memories of wearing the bell bottoms, the corduroy, the ponchos. Let's see what else. Right now I can't remember, but I have some fun memories. I also have some embarrassing memories because back then I used to go disco dancing. I'd put my platform shoes on and my bell bottoms and I'd go disco dancing. It was so funny. And I say that because I was really goofy on the dance floor. Of course, back then in Australia we had the Bee Gees and Olivia Newton-John. There were other artists that were very popular, but those were the two that I remember the most. But anyway, I don't want to waste your time. I do want to jump into the tutorial, and we're going to be using the beads that came in Didi's Deluxe Bead box for the month of January. Now, if you're not familiar with that box, I'll leave some information down below, along with a link to the website, so you can go check it out if you want to. I'll also leave a coupon code in case you're interested. Another thing I like to do is to leave a list of all the tools I'll be using today, and a list of the materials as well, because I know some of you don't have the box. So if you didn't buy the box, please don't worry, because you can still make these necklaces. You're just going to have to find similar items. I know some of you get frustrated about that, but my tutorials are meant to inspire you. And so if you can find similar beads, that would be great. You don't necessarily have to copy my designs bead by bead, although if you did, I would be very flattered. Another thing I like to do is to model my jewelry at the end of my videos, so please stick around for that. And if you feel like skipping forward to any portion of the video, don't forget that I always leave timestamps down below as well. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and get started. And here we have Didi's Deluxe Bead box for the month of January 2024. The name of this box is Stella Got Her Groove Back, and I got such a kick out of the name, it certainly put a smile on my face. But anyway, this was definitely a throwback edition because it was inspired by the hippie era from the 60s and 70s, and the beads were absolutely gorgeous. It contained a stunning polymer clay pendant and some laser etched charms with a flower print that I couldn't resist. And as always, it contained some amazing check beads and gemstones. And if you haven't seen the unboxing video, I'll link it down below. And like I said, if you missed out on getting this box, I'll leave a list of all the materials down below in the description section in case you want to do a Google search. So let's go ahead and select the materials for today's project. Here are the items we're going to be using from the box. And tell me you're not inspired by looking at all these colors. When I first opened up the box, my jaw literally dropped. In fact, I wanted to use every single item in the box. And this is about half of what the box contained. Let me just show you what's left over. As you can see, there are quite a few items left over. And I may end up doing another tutorial. I have to see if I can fit it into my schedule. But anyway, let me go over these items with you. Here we have some beautiful check glass flower beads. They measure 9 by 3 millimeters. I'm going to be using these on one of the 3 necklaces. And I tried to pick one of each color. I think there were 7 colors total, but I only have 6 of the colors here. I think they're absolutely adorable. Let me just give you a close-up. Look how pretty these are. I absolutely adore these flower beads. As you can see, they have a gold wash as well. They're so colorful. And I love this charm. It's called a laser etched flower print charm, and it measures 20 millimeters. Let me show you. Isn't that beautiful? It's so beautiful. And there's the back. As you can see, the hole's at the top. And I love that flower print. It's absolutely gorgeous. And here we have a beautiful mix of barrel beads. They're faceted barrel beads and they measure 5 by 4 millimeters. And as you can see, there are tons of colors there as well. We're going to be using these barrel beads on all 3 necklaces. And here we have some 8 millimeter size agate beads. It's called Natural Tiger Skin Agate. And these are very pretty as well. I really like these. And here we have some jasper pebble chips. It's natural picture jasper. And I have various sizes there. And let me show you this pendant. This is a polymer clay pendant. And it has this very attractive print, as you can see. And it measures 49 by 29 millimeters. It's handcrafted by Beth Sullivan. And I'm not sure who she is, but I know that her work has been featured in these boxes before. Let me show you what else we'll be using today. We're going to be using some seed beads today. And these are Toho round seed beads. They measure size 8O. And let me tell you the color. The color is bronze metallic matte. And even though they're matte, they do have a little bit of a satin finish. And by the way, these next few items are not from the box. They're from my own stash. I'm going to be using some craft wire and some beading wire. This craft wire is 20 gauge and it's in a bronze color. And the beading wire is 49 strand beading wire and it's 0.015 inches thick or 0.38 millimeters. And this one's in a bronze color. I think I have enough, hopefully. And here I have some jump rings, some lobster clasps, and some ball head pins. The jump rings are 6 millimeters in size. I'm going to be using the ball head pins to create some dangles. And I'm going to be doing some wrap loops. So the gauge is pretty thin. I think they're 22 gauge, something like that. Now in addition to these items, I'm going to be using some crimp beads and some clamshell covers. But I'll bring those out later on when we get ready to use them. So now that we've gone over the materials, let's go ahead and get started. We're going to start by working on the shorter necklace of the 3, the choker necklace. And I think mine's going to be about 16 inches or 17 inches, including the clasp. You're going to have to decide how long you want yours. But anyway, these are the beads I'm going to be using. I have my size 8O seed beads, my barrel beads, and my pebble chips. I'm going to work on the bottom part of the necklace first, and then we'll work on the strands later. So the first thing I need to do is arrange these pebble chips, and I'm going to have them graduating in size. So the larger ones will be in the center, and the smaller ones will be out on the sides. Let me show you. Something like that. Now if you'll notice the holes, they're not exactly at the top of each pebble chip, so that's something you need to take into consideration, because once you string them, you want them to hang properly. And before I actually string them on the beading wire, I like to use this tool. It's called a magic rod. I carry these in my Etsy store, and this is the 9-inch length. I do have others that are longer, 12 inches. A lot of times people ask me which size to get, and it's difficult to answer because it all depends on the project. But since I'm working on the bottom part of the necklace, I don't need the longer rods. So I'm going to use this one. They come with stoppers on the ends, by the way. I just pull one off. That's what's so nice about them. Once I load the beads, I bring the stoppers in close, and that brings the beads in up against each other, so I'm able to get accurate measurements. I think I'm going to start with a barrel bead, and then one of these chips, and another barrel bead, and another chip. Let me just move this one to this side because the hole is further up and it's going to hang lower. And now another barrel bead and another chip bead. Let me just keep loading these in this order. Okay, I've got them all on my rod, and now I'm going to lay them down to see how they look. I just want to make sure that they're graduating in size. And I'm pretty satisfied with them, I think, from this angle anyway. It's a little difficult to tell because I'm not able to look at it straight down because my camera's in the way, but it doesn't have to be perfect. So now I'm going to add some seed beads on the ends. Let me just add a few. I have about an inch worth there. Let me put my stopper on so I don't lose the beads. And I'm going to switch to this side. And I'm going to load some seed beads. And that's about 1 inch as well. So now I'm going to go ahead and measure it. As you can see, I have my stoppers on, so I'm able to bring the beads in close. Now I know most of you don't have these rods. Before I came up with the idea, I used to use just a scrap piece of beading wire, and that's what I recommend you do. But anyway, if you're interested in these magic rods, I'll leave a link down below to my Etsy store. So let's take a look. It measures about 6 inches. So now that I know that, I can do the math to figure out how many more inches I need to complete the necklace. And based on the math, I need 10 inches more. So that means I need 5 inches on either side. And I'm just going to use seed beads to finish the necklace. I've already preloaded 2 rods. And I need to add these beads onto this one. So I'm removing the stopper. And I'm going to pick them up. Let me put my stopper back on. So now I have 2 rods that are identical. And that's another nice thing about these rods. You don't have to count seed beads. And these measure 5 inches. So 5 plus 5 is 10, plus 6 is 16. But the clasp and the jump rings are going to add another inch or so, maybe a little bit less. So now I'm going to load them on beading wire. I've cut myself a 20-inch piece. Let me put a clip on the end so I don't lose the beads. And by the way, I got these on Amazon. I got a whole bag of them for real cheap. I think it was like $5 for 50, something like that. I don't remember exactly, but I just remember thinking they were very cheap. So let me show you how I load these. I'm going to start with my seed beads. Let me remove my stopper carefully. Now to offload from the rods, I'm going to hold onto this end of the rod and grab a few of them and load them directly onto my beading wire. Just like that. I think it's a lot easier to do this than to pick up 1 seed bead at a time with beading wire. That's my personal opinion. Unless you're using very thick beading wire. But this beading wire is not that thick. So anyway, let me keep loading these. Okay, as you can see, I've loaded all the beads. And by the way, I forgot to mention that you should cut yourself 2 inches extra at each end to do the crimping. And that's why I cut myself a 20-inch piece for a 16-inch necklace. Now today we're not going to do the traditional crimping. We're going to squash the crimp bead and hide it inside a clamshell cover. But if you want to do the traditional fold over method, by all means do it. I know some of you don't feel comfortable with this method that I'm about to show you. I have a couple of crimp beads here. They're the round crimp beads, they're not the tubes. And here I have 2 clamshell covers. Let me show you what they look like in case you haven't seen them. As you can see, they look exactly like a clamshell, and this one has 1 loop at the top. We're going to close that loop once we get done. You might find some that have 2 loops. I actually don't like using those because I don't feel they're secure enough. I'd like to use this kind because that piece of metal is pretty thick. And it shouldn't slide through the gap of a jump ring. Now before we start, I am going to open it up a little bit to make things a little bit easier. And I'm also going to bend this piece of metal back a little bit as well. Like that. And now let me open it up. Let me do the same to this one. So let me show you how to do this. I'm going to start out by placing one of these clamshell covers on first, and I'm going in from the bottom. Like this. And now crimp bead. So there's my crimp bead. And now I'm going to grab that crimp bead with my chain nose pliers. Like this. And squash it. Let me turn it around and squash it from this side, just to make sure that it's nice and secure. And before I cut off the excess, I'm going to test it to make sure that it's not going to go anywhere, and it's on there pretty good. So let me cut off the excess. And now I'm going to close my clamshell cover. And I'm going to go ahead and bend this piece of metal down to form a loop. You want to make sure you close the loop really well. And that's all there is to it. Pretty easy. So let me go ahead and do the other side. You want to make sure you take out all the spaces. You don't want any spaces in between your beads. As you can see, I finished the other end. Let me show you. I think it looks really professional, I really do. It's a much cleaner look than using crimp bead covers and wire guardians, in my opinion. I know some of you are a little bit worried about it, but I've used this method quite a few times and I've never had any problem with it. So now we just need to attach the clasp. Here's a lobster clasp and 2 6mm jump rings. Let me go ahead and open up a jump ring. Let me slide on the clasp first and attach it to one side and close up the jump ring. You do want to make sure your jump ring is closed really well. And now let me open up this one. And this was a relatively easy necklace to make. And I love the look of this beautiful jasper and the colored beads. I think it's so attractive. So now we're going to move on to the second necklace. Let me get the materials for that. Here are the materials for this necklace. As you can see, I've already loaded my beads on 2 magic rods, and these are the 12-inch rods. Whenever I do stringing projects, I always use them because it's so much easier to lay out your bead patterns. But like I demonstrated earlier, the best part about these rods is that you can bring the beads in close, and it doesn't matter if they're seed beads, chips, square beads, round beads, and that's something that you can't do on a beading board because sometimes the beads don't lay properly, especially if they're odd shapes. And it's also difficult to get accurate measurements when you're teaming up large beads with seed beads. But anyway, I have 2 rods as you can see, and there's 9 inches worth of beads on each one. But I think I'm going to add a few more beads because I want my necklace to be about 22 inches total once I add the clasp. When I first loaded these rods, I wasn't sure about the length. So after I string these beads, I'll go ahead and add more barrel beads at the top of the necklace where the clasp is going to go. But I'm going to add this charm and this bead at the bottom and probably some more seed beads. So that's going to add to the length. So by the time I do that and add the jump rings and clasp, it'll be about 22 inches long. So for this, I'm going to cut myself a piece of beading wire that's about 26 inches long because like I said before, it's a good idea to leave yourself 2 inches at each end to do the crimping. So here's my piece of wire. And I'm going to find the center. So I'm going to bring my ends together like this. And now I'm going to slide on this charm. And bring it down to the center. So there it is. And I'm going to add this bead. And I'm feeding both ends through the bead. Bring that down. So that's what we have so far. I'm going to add some seed beads at the bottom. And I think I'll add about 3 on each strand. So that's 3. And now let me add 3 on this one. me bring it down and then I'll show you. So that's what we have so far. And the reason I added those seed beads at the bottom is because I'm going to start loading the larger beads first, and you want to have enough space down there. In other words, if I were to load them without the seed beads at the bottom, they wouldn't sit properly because they're pretty large beads. So you need to create a little bit of space. I hope that makes sense. So let me go ahead and put a clip on this end. And once again, I'm going to hold on to the rod at this end like this. Take the stopper off this end. And now I'm just going to go ahead and load the beads. So I'm going to keep doing this. I'm going to do it off camera, guys, because I don't want this video to be too long. And then I'll meet you back. Well, here's my necklace. And I went ahead and finished off the ends, just like I did with the choker necklace. I figured since I already showed you, I didn't think I needed to show you again, but I did the exact same thing, guys. I used the clamshell covers and I squashed the crimp bead inside. And I don't think I went over these beads with you before, but here I have the tiger skin agate beads. They're 8mm in size, and then the rest of them are the faceted barrel beads. And in between each one is a size 8/0 seed bead. And if you want to know the total number of beads, I have 1 agate bead at the bottom and then 7 on each side, and then I have 25 barrel beads on each strand. And I think this necklace turned out really pretty. I love it. And it's going to coordinate really well with that choker necklace. So now let's go ahead and move on to the third necklace. Let me get the materials for that. Here are the materials for the third necklace. And this one's the longest of the 3. This one's actually going to measure about 28 inches. Obviously, you can make yours as long as you want to. I know I keep saying that, but everybody's different and we all like different lengths. Initially, I was going to make a multi-strand necklace. But I'll be honest, guys, I find multi-strand necklaces kind of awkward to wear. I end up having to fiddle with them a lot, so the strands sit properly on my chest. Plus, I like to have options. I want to be able to wear 1, 2, or all 3, if I choose. But that would be another option for you if you prefer multi-strand necklaces. You could certainly combine all 3 necklaces, make them 3 different lengths, and connect them with a 3-to-1 connector link, or just a regular jump ring. I've done that before many times on this channel. But anyway, the links on this chain measure 3.5 by 5mm. And here's my beautiful polymer clay pendant. And I have 1 faceted barrel bead that I'm going to use at the top. So now we're going to prepare the pendant. I have a piece of 20 gauge wire, and I'm going to slide it through the pendant like this. And now I'm going to bend the wire upward like this and cross it at the top. Let me just make sure it's straight. Kind of like that. And I'm going to do some wraps. So I'm going to grab the wire to the left of where the 2 pieces cross, like this. And now I'm going to grab the tail and create some wraps. And I'm only going to do about 2 wraps because this is 20 gauge wire. So you really don't need that many wraps. But you certainly can do more if you want to. And now let me cut off the excess. I'm using flush cutters. And you definitely want to tuck in any sharp end that you see. You don't want anything sharp sticking out. So now I'm going to load the bead. Just like that. I'm going to grab the wire at the top of the bead. Bend it. Switch to this part, wrap the tail around the nose, flip the pliers around, continue to wrap to the back. So now I have a loop, but before I attach it to the chain, I need to find the center of the chain, and that's very easy to do. I'm going to slide a head pin through both lengths like this, and find the center this way. And I believe it's this link right here. So now I'm going to open up this loop. and slide it into the link. Just like that. Let me grab it with my skinny pliers. Grab the tail and do my wraps. Cut off the excess. And tuck in that little sharp end. So now the pendant is attached. I think it looks really nice. And now I'm going to attach 6 dangles, 3 on each side. I'm going to use these beads. I have 6 check flower beads in 6 different colors, and I have 6 faceted barrel beads, and each one is a different color as well. Here's some ball head pins. Let me go ahead and prepare 1 dangle. I'm going to slide on this flower bead. And now I need to choose a barrel bead. And it really doesn't matter what color, so I'm going to choose this green one. Like that. Maybe an orange one. I don't know why I'm being so picky. Because by the time I attach them, it's really not going to make a difference. So now I'm going to grab the pin with my round nose pliers at the top like this. Bend it. Switch to this part. Wrap the tail around the nose. Flip the pliers around. Continue to wrap to the back. And let me open up this loop. And I think as far as the spacing, I want it to be about 1 1/4 inches. I did measure the links before, and 1 1/4 inches is about 10 links. So let me count 10 links. So 10 links would be this one right here. I'm just simply going to slide the link into the loop that I just created. Let's see if it'll go in. So there it is. And now I'm going to grab the loop with my skinny pliers. Grab the tail and do some wraps. And once again, I did about 2 wraps. Let me cut off the excess. Tuck in that little sharp end. So there it is attached. Now one thing I do want to mention, you want to make sure you attach your dangles on the bottom side of the links because you want them to work with gravity. You wouldn't want to attach them on the top side because then they wouldn't sit properly. I hope that makes sense. But anyway, that's how I'm going to do all of them. I'm simply going to count 10 links from this one and attach it to the 10th one. Let me go ahead and do one more with you. Let me pick this blue one here, or this aqua one. I'm going to slide it onto my head pin. And now one of these barrel beads, like that. I'm going to grab the pin with my round nose pliers, bend it, switch to this part, wrap the tail around the nose of the pliers, flip the pliers around, continue to wrap to the back. I'm going to open up this loop, pick up my work, and now I need to count 10 links. So this one's the 10th one right here, and I'm going to attach it to this side of the link. Just like that. Let me grab it, grab the tail, and do my wraps. Cut off the excess. tuck in whatever sharp end you see, if you see one. So this is what we have so far. As you can see, the dangles are hanging on the bottom side of the links. That's what you want. I think it looks really cute. So I'm going to hang my third one 10 links away from this one, and then I'll hang 3 on this side the same way. So let me do that and I'll see you in a few moments. As you can see, I've attached all my dangles, and how cute is this? I think it's adorable. I just love all these colors. They're so beautiful. So now we just need to attach the clasp. Here's a clasp and 2 6mm jump rings. Let me open one up. Let me go ahead and slide the clasp on first, like this. And I'm going to connect it to this strand. Let me close it. And now let me open up this jump ring. And connect it to this side. And close it. And this is an extremely long necklace. I'm not going to be able to fit the whole thing on camera, but you get the idea. I think it's super cute. It really is. And I want to put all 3 on my mat and show you, but we're going to make a quick pair of earrings first. So let me get the materials for that. Here are the materials for the earrings, and I couldn't resist using these beautiful charms. I just love them. But anyway, as you can see, I've already made one. It has one of the faceted barrel beads at the top. And then this one is a rondelle that came in the Inspired by Checks designer strand, which was included in the box. I think it measures about 7.5 by 6 millimeters, something like that. So let's go ahead and assemble this one. I have another piece of 20 gauge wire, and I'm going to grab it with my round nose pliers at the top like this. Bend it. Switch to this part. Wrap the tail around the nose. Flip the pliers around. Continue to wrap that tail to the back. I'm going to grab the loop with my skinny pliers. I'm going to grab the tail and do my wraps. And I'm just going to do a couple of wraps, like I've been doing. Let me cut off the excess. And I'm going to tuck in that sharp end. Let me go ahead and load the barrel bead first, and then this bead. Grab the wire with my round nose pliers, line up the bottom loop. I want my loops to be perpendicular, so I'm going to bend my wire that way. Switch to this part, and I want this loop to be a little bit bigger than the other one. Wrap the tail around the nose, flip the pliers around, continue to wrap to the back. Let me open up this loop, slide my charm into it, grab it with my skinny pliers, like this, grab the tail and do a couple of wraps. Snip off the excess. And let me tuck in that little sharp end. I actually love the way this sounds. And now I'm going to open up the loop of the ear wire hook. Slide my earring into it. Make sure that it's facing the correct way. And close up the loop. You want it to face the front like this when you have them on. So now we have two very cute earrings, which are going to coordinate perfectly with the 3 necklaces. Let me go ahead and get the 3 necklaces and I'll arrange everything on my mat. Well, here are all 3 necklaces, and I think they turned out lovely. I love the colorful beads and the natural stones. It's definitely bohemian, and it definitely reminds me of the hippie era. And I know you can't see the whole thing, but I'm going to move my board up and down in a few moments. And of course, like I mentioned before, I like to have the option of wearing each one individually, or 2 or 3, depending on the occasion. Let me move my board down so you can see the top. There's the top. Let me move it up. I did adjust my iPhone holder, but I couldn't lift it up as high as I wanted to. Let me see if I can show you the bottom. There's the bottom. And I absolutely adore these earrings. They're so cute and they're so colorful and cheerful. So anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed today's tutorial. As always, I'd like to go ahead and model these for you. So let me put them on and I'll see you in a few moments. So which one is your favorite? Do you like the choker? Do you like the medium length necklace? Or do you like the long one? I can't decide which one I like because I like all 3, but I do like the option of having 3 separate necklaces instead of a multi-strand. So anyway, guys, I hope I've inspired you. I hope you can make your own necklaces. Thank you so much for watching. I'm looking forward to seeing you again. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time. Bye.